Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Daria Reactions. I'm Fred. If you're new to the channel, I'm glad you found us. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back, and especially if you're a returning viewer for just these videos only. Obviously, we changed things a little bit, moved the camera around, and so forth, mainly because I wanted to do things different over on the Twitch streaming side. But anyway, to explain to those who are new here, I am going through each and every episode of Daria in order for a rewatch, reaction, discussion, commentary series. I'll go through each episode in full, start to finish, give my reactions and stuff to things, obviously, as they happen. But as well as this is more importantly than that, this is also a rewatch for me because I was in high school when Daria was first airing on MTV way back in the late 1990s. And basically, it's been 25 years in a lot of cases since I've seen a lot of these episodes. Uh, so, with that said, this week we're covering the season 2 episode Fair Enough. And I want to say this is the episode that has the obviously no, because Daria has the titles typically have a theme related to the episodes. So seeing it's Fair Enough, and it's I'm gonna assume it's a fair, and obviously, and the only one I remember that having like a fair, because there was a lot of different things that happened at Lawndale High because Principal Lee was such a corrupt principal and embezzled funds for one thing or another. That I remember there being a Renaissance Fair episode where the three J's, Jeffrey, Jamie, and whatever the hell the name of the third guy was, get their asses kicked by Mr. DiMartino in like a jousting contest because like it's a Renaissance fair. I mean that's a visual that stands out in my mind. But for whatever reason, as I'm thinking, like somehow Kevin is not involved because that probably would have been very very ideal to have Mr. DiMartino kicking the shit out of Kevin. It's like just to get his hands on him legally, it will probably have been awesome. Um. So yeah. Um. So with that said, typical thing here, we got the display capture up. Obviously, we have moved it from what would have been my right hand side, excuse me, from what would have been my left hand side normally to my right hand side in terms of the screen here. Normally, it's been over on this side in the past. And also, I got to get used to looking at the camera straight ahead now again instead of looking this way because this is where the camera used to be. The camera used to be over on this side. So it's a relearning experience for that. But again, it's to make my the stuff I do on Twitch a hell of a lot more easier and comfortable. Composite blur will be turned on and off on it, as well as the audio will be muted. You might hear ambient audio coming from the speakers to the microphone, which has also been moved from over here to over from my lower left to be more directly in front of me to my immediate right. So it's my right and like your left. Yeah. Man, this is confusing. It was like Confucius say, just shut up and play the episode. Da, 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 da. And by the way, yes, I am using the DVDs for this. Oh, that's a beautiful shot there.
Wow! Look at this place. I wonder what it is.
I think it's the library, babe.
Well, it's soon to be, it is a library. It is soon to be the pool. And what the hell, Kevin and Brittany? What the actual hell? Why?
I won it in a raffle. I don't know where.
Remember what I said about Principal Lee embezzling funds? There was Exhibit A. She has a polygraph machine. Why? Why? Excuse me. I would ask why. I would ask and should ask why.
Now, why do you think it is that Tolstoy felt he had to make war and peace so darn unpleasant?
Audio fixes on the fly, folks.
Good morning, young people. I have a very sad announcement. The library will be closed until further notice.
Great. There goes the only place I can go to be alone.
Oh, you know that's not true. To raise money for
Yeah, where Daria can go many places to be alone.
simulating the
Just none of them with things that are interesting for her to read.
volunteers are desperately needed. Those who refuse to volunteer must voluntarily purchase a ticket for $10 or voluntarily face suspension. Have a nice day.
It's amazing again how corrupt Principal Lee is. You either have to volunteer to take part, volunteer to buy a ticket, or otherwise voluntarily face suspension. That's exploitation and blackmail.
Because nobody plays a love scene like you, Kevy. Now go practice.
Yes, ma'am. Break.
Your lines! Wow, where's he going? We're gonna be in a play together at the medieval fair. Oh, that's nice. We'll be the most popular ones there.
Uh-oh, Brittany made a mistake. Brittany mentioned popularity around Quinn. Wow, Jake balancing a bottle on his nose. And again, the Morgadors refers are having lasagna. Like, seriously, do they eat anything else? unless every episode tends to take place on a Thursday.
Admiring it from the safe distance of my room.
Daria, this fair is for a very good cause. Everyone should go.
Okay, you go.
Going.
That won't be necessary. I meant every student.
But what if Meryl Streep here gets the part? Nothing says support like you and Dad leading.
Daria has a point there. It's like, yeah, Helen, you made a mistake saying everyone should go. Okay. Poor Jake. Well, it's kind of funny that Sandy and Tiffany, you rarely see them by themselves, just the two of them.
We have more important things to do.
That's right. Let's go to Cashman's and try on sequin gowns.
Hi, Sandy, Tiffany. Guess what?
You're transferring to a new school.
Wow, Sandy being a complete bitch with that.
That is so
I, I,
weird.
I mean, this, with the exception of the episode a few weeks ago, where she literally kicks Quinn out of her house. That is the most aggressive Sandy's been straight up to Quinn about, oh, you're transferring to a new school?
Just like me getting it, only not.
Guys, you're not gonna believe this. Brett Strand just asked me out. Really? Is that okay with you, Quinn?
Huh? Why? That is, well, yeah, it is a sick, sad world.
Could you help me with something?
Honestly, Quinn, I'm just tapped out. I wish I could, but I'm dead flat broke. If I had a buck on me,
Like, damn, poor Jake. Like, Jake is like, was just his dog gives Quinn so much money that he just say straight up tell her that he's broke. He has nothing on this today. Quinn, you made a mistake. It's like you went to Jake for help, and it's like he has issues.
Practice upstairs.
Quinn, honey, it wasn't that bad, really. After a few months, the teasing tapered off. Maybe I should go talk to her.
Yes, you should, Jake. But say this about Jake: you got a little admire a dude who can appreciate Ziggy while having a martini. Hey, Upchuck is in this episode.
Palamon, who has such love for me.
Which is like deserving of death. Cool.
Oh, Palamine, who can remember all this?
Brittany, you can remember all of that because we know you're smart.
I
I'm just trying to think about it. Upchuck and Sandy. That's probably a pairing that actually works up, and she needs him in the nuts. They don't waste any time. They don't wait for the honeymoon. Yes, you are, Kevin. You are Palamon. Yeah, Brittany, you got yourself to blame for this. It's like you mentioned popularity around Quinn. I think she'll make a dainty garland for her head and sing, but I'm not entirely sure. No, she isn't. That's actually a great line. Make a dainty garland for my neck and choke, as opposed, yeah. Well, Quinn knows that Sandy's being a bitch to her over this. Good point there. Well, Brittany has road rage too. It's like it's like crazy old jerk, and it's like the way she gets her voice cracks on that line was just pretty cute. Well, it's not the Pennsylvania Renaissance Fair, but it'll do. Nice hat. Gotta appreciate good headwear. Oh, look, it's Sandy's parents and family. It is remarkable that they actually used the same voice actress for Sandy and her mom, and unlike her previous appearance, Sandy's mom's voice isn't higher pitch than Sandy herself. It's actually more on par. Never sign a waiver. Oh, yep, and this is the episode where Mr. DiMartino goes nuts on the three J's. Yeah. Yeah, it's like, Jamie, you don't want Mr. DiMartino to know who you are. He's going to take it all out on you. That's a good look for Upchuck, considering his red hair design is like feisty. Okay, oh, wow, Wait, that's not Mrs. Branch. And dunked. Dunked again. She's crying. Ah, poor Stacy. That is actually the most profound thing Tiffany will ever say.
Count on my true friends.
I take that back.
Oh, I'm sure she'll do a good job.
What is she going to do? Of course, Jody will be at the information booth.
It's for a good cause, okay?
You just keep telling yourself that. Or have your ladies in waiting do it. Where's Prince Mac?
Oh,
It was Miss Barcher's
of
idea.
course, it was Mrs. Bart's idea for Mac to get the shit kicked out of him. And of course, Mrs. Barch is a fortune teller, traumatizing every young woman who wants their fortune read.
Leaving a trail of muddy footprints behind on the freshly cleaned carpet. But you'll be better off without him. Much better off.
$2 for girls' fortune, $20 for boys.
And she's the living proof. Should we get our fortunes read? I'll pass. Knowing the present is bad enough.
Then how about a Ferris wheel ride?
Do I look desperate to you?
Yes, she does.
Wait till you hear the ballad of the misunderstood minstrel.
Do I look desperate to you?
Yes, you even more desperate, Daria.
You're in luck. One basket left. Hey, come on. Listen to my song. It's only got 12 verses. Inquisition.
It was the Inquisition. What a show.
Can't, we're full up.
I don't want anyone to see my eyes. This really weird shade of red.
Sorry. Safety regulation.
Pay double.
All aboard.
Yeah, screw safety regulations. She like pay him double. Anybody will get on. So Daria and Jane are now stuck with a crying Stacy on a Ferris wheel.
And everyone thought I had a cesarean because Sandy's head was so round and smooth and not flat and bumpy like the other babies.
Well, my labor with Quinn was only 2 hours, 20 minutes, so her head was quite round, too.
That's great, especially since giving birth can be risky for women over 35.
Wow. Again, Sandy's family are quite aggressive to the Morgendorfers.
Their delicious dinner and leap up as one in a standing ovation. Brava! Brava! Everyone. Yum! Yum!
Yum yum.
Now, let's bow our heads for a moment and remember James Dean.
Man, James Dean died too young, but you know what? He went out in a blaze of glory.
Sandy? Tiffany, what are you guys doing
That's
here?
an excellent question.
They wish you luck.
Not that you'll need it.
No way. You really think so?
You're really talented, Quinn. I especially like your unique inflections.
You do?
Like, say a line for us.
Well, okay. I will make a dainty garland for my head.
And then sing.
See what I mean?
Oh, yeah. What do you mean?
Wow, and Sandy roped Tiffany in on this too.
I will make a dainty garland for my head. But you, Quinn, with your special talent, you said, I will make a dainty garland for my head.
Stressing the different words.
Must be talent because you wouldn't emphasize the wrong words, would you?
No, of course not.
I didn't think so.
Well, everybody has a different way of speaking.
Can't believe she thinks she should have gotten the part over you. That's so wrong.
Tiffany is just playing both sides against each other.
Now, I know we don't take a highway to school, babe. Are you sure?
The look in Brittany's eyes there. Wha- Sandy, excuse me, this is like Stacy. I get them confused. It's like I wouldn't say that to Daria and Jane on a Ferris wheel where they could possibly chuck you off of it.
Come on, Jake.
What do you think happened to the rest of this turkey?
It was eaten, clearly. Mr. DiMartino's been busy. Oh, wait a minute. Mrs. Barge is going to end up beating up Mr. DiMartino, isn't she? At this point, uh, uh, Sandy, I think Daria and Jake were probably wishing you're dead too. The full house. The three J's are here. What? Well, it's like, hey, this is the first time that Mr. O'Neill actually has to make a decisive action decision and take that desperate action. Oh wow, the other two J's are even more victim, are just as vindictive as the rest of as Sandy is. I'm not really I have a sudden craving for chicken, or at least a big turkey drumstick. Food fight! Food fight! Oh, your father's being pelted by turkey legs. Wow, the look on Sandy and her mom's face there was just pure vindictiveness. There's always a riot happening at the auditorium. That's what the auditorium is for. Oh, that's sweet. Again, considering that these Mrs. Barch and Mr. O'Neill are like perfect for each other in their own way. Damn, that was soon. It was like she doesn't hold back. Yeah, it was very cool. Oh wow! And, like say what you want about Daria. If there is something that is totally like consistent through the course of the series, is that she is great with younger kids. Granted, she ends up traumatizing them, and Jane as well. Like, look at that. She can draw a crowd. It's as if Daria can be herself without no fear. She's very. He's like Kevin has a moment there, and it just can't quite lock it in. But that was a great episode. It's a bit all over the place. The first act, or like everything up to the first like commercial break, is essentially all set up. I'm looking this way out of force of habit. It's all it's all set up to set up everything for the fair. Everything was like, okay, Quinn gets the part in the play. The Sandy being obviously jealous and even being more of a bitch than she is normally. We see the return of Sandy's mom, who definitely howls it out for Helen. Um, the overall the running gag of Brittany not wanting Kevin to be in the play with Quinn and just driving endlessly. It does make me wonder when does Kevin realize that when does Kevin become sure that Brittany has just taking him like further and further beyond the school. Obviously, between now and in the next episode, assuming that both characters appear in the next episode. So if we go by that logic, all right, then the next time Kevin and Brittany appear in an episode of Daria will be after Kevin says that he is absolutely sure that it does not take that long to get to school, considering Brittany's again basically kidnapping him. As I did pointed out though, there is like a reoccurring theme with Daria in terms of her being so unapologetic and in her viewpoints and stuff, being great with kids and stuff. I saw like her and Jane literally drawing a crowd around the information booth because they are essentially talking about more of the gore and stuff that's associated with the medieval times. Um, I'm actually surprised that Mrs. Barch did not end up uh facing Mr. DiMartino in the jousting ring, but instead ends up in another makeout session with Mr. O'Neill that she aggressively initiates. But because again, that's like Mrs. Barch at this point in the series has like those two extremes that she will just kick the crap out of Mr. DiMartino under for any circumstances, and or make Kevin and Mac's life a living hell, considering Mac was the dragon for young kids to beat up in this episode. All those kids being suspiciously white, so that even makes things even more awkward when you really think about it. And then she's also like putting the moves on Mr. O'Neill. I'm trying to. I think late in the series run there is something involving like Mr. O'Neill and Mrs. Barch getting married. Um, where Mr. O'Neill actually stands up for himself a little bit, but I'm not 100% sure or remember all the details on that. Upchuck getting a few good moments, and then the full jester outfit was actually a kind of a great look considering his red coif. The Howdy Doody reference is okay. This again was an episode, obviously that came out in the late 1990s. All right, season 2. This was also an episode, obviously produced uh, from folks who are obviously of the Gen X generation. So Howdy Doody wasn't really a thing, especially from the older end of the Gen X generation going forward. And same thing as it relates into the 80s and 90s is like it's not exactly a reference that many people would have gotten. It would have been even a stretch for even saying a Raggedy Ann or Raggedy Andy reference at that point in time. So it's but when I really think back, there really weren't that many like red-haired, freckle-faced characters on any show that I can recall heading up to this point. Matter of fact, it really wasn't until like the the episode of South Park with the where Cartman gets turned into a ginger that was I want to say there was something, at least in terms of animation, where there being like a prominent red-haired, freckle-faced character uh, being actually seen at this point in time. It was definitely a very uncommon design. I mean, I was like, I'm trying to think back. How many red-haired characters would there have been? I want to say Lionel from Thundercats. like the original Thundercats series from the late '80s. Janine Melnitz in the real Ghostbusters. That's 2. And I am struggling to come up with a third one, at least in terms of animation, or just pop culture in general for that time period. So it's like kind of that kind of is what it is there. Yeah. So we're going to head and wrap this up here for this week's episode. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff if you are so inclined. We'll be doing another episode, obviously, next week. And depending on how long it takes me to get through Grandia, we'll more likely would do. There might be another week coming up soon-ish where we do 2 episodes in 1 week. But we got something scheduled for this upcoming Friday already, as well. So that's why last week there was 2 episodes. This week there's only 1. So with that all said, tighten your friendship bracelet, stay safe, have a good one, and we'll see y'all in the next video. And I don't even have my pen here to fling it at the camera. See you next time, folks. Bye.